Alright, Transformer TCG friends. Yeah, the game's long been canceled. July 20, 2020 was a sad day for all of us. ATP, the ARC, our Energon Hustlers, Bayformers, powered by Primus, along with, of course, the ARC kind of encompassed a lot of them, and some of them kind of left the ARC as well. Continued to make pretty good cards, because they were able to have the time to, well, test, unlike myself, and where I just went a little more with quality over quantity. Reverse that. Quantity over quality. And slowly I've been able to tweak some of my cards throughout the years, and a few characters, and a lot of new characters that were never a part of canon, and try to interject them into the game to hopefully bring some more fun to the game, or especially for y'all as players. If you want to go to the Dropbox, screenshot any of my stuff and try to get it printed out, you know, whatever. You know, I got stuff all over here. Some of their stuff printed. I don't have everything. I got some of my stuff printed, not everything, because ink and paper cost money. Even going to Office Max, Office Depot, Staples, or whatever still costs money. And even then, it's not up to official standards from Wizards of the Coast, owned by Hasbro, that originally put out the game. So, with that in mind, and I've done a lot of crap. I will admit, I've done a lot of crap. Why are you doing this video, Grillenheimer? Well, there's this. You know, almost 2 months ago, may have been about that long, shortly around the turn of this year, I revealed a few cards. And they were cards that were upgrades where, you know, if a character had on one of these upgrades, you could roll a die, and if it was like 1 through 3, you might not get anything. If it was 4 through 6, you might have extra bold 3 off of it. The ranking cards. Because I had tried doing some of these by taking images off the back of the boxes at the time. I didn't know what they were. A lot of people didn't know what these were. And if you're familiar with the comics, when IDW was bringing them out, I believe, they would interject some of these symbols in the comics, I think. And I actually picked up, there's about 10 or 12 in total of called Revolution. And I don't have them all, but I was helping a local store, and I bought some of them, and I found out, guess what? It's where some of the images of the cards came from. They took from some of, officially, the official cards. Pep Talk is an image from that comic. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm reading the comics. I'm like, that's really cool. That's what a lot of other people are kind of doing, other than, you know, well, mostly they try to do their own artwork and drawings to give us new artwork, and to not to steal, quote unquote, steal anything. I do a lot of screenshots. I apologize. And I try to reverse when I can when there's not text on it. But not for profit, just for fun, just trying to keep the blasted game alive, because it is pretty fun and very satisfying. Now, long story short, one, I've taken some hiatus off. I took a hiatus. Kids had spring break, and I've you know, a lot of things to do around here, and taxes and whatnot. So that kind of year, so that's why you haven't heard from me in a while. It feels that way, even though I've still pretty much released a video once every week, pretty consistently. Except for maybe this week, because today is Thursday that I am recording this, and I've already recorded one video continuing, finally almost finishing up the Undisclosed Chapter characters. And that video should be coming out here pretty soon. I've got to get some more stop motion done too, because that's why a lot of y'all are here, is to see some of the silly stop motion that I do. Even though it's not that great, it's very dietary as far as lazy I would be concerned. I have little time and little space and little patience for myself, but it's just fun to do, and I still have some ideas that I want to try to get done, but to add to that, but these ranking cards, once I realized, you know, what these symbols are, what they mean, and I changed it from what I had before to something, you know, that I revealed a few months ago. And I started looking into, I've been making them and making them. I'm still in the depth. I am waist deep in these things. Space Force, Ground Force, or Ground and Marina, and the Air Force. There's all these different kinds of groups, so to speak. Then you have all the actual rankings themselves, you know, whether it's a private or a raider, and sergeant and captain, and et cetera, et cetera. And then general is the highest. And it all matches up with what they were trying to do about, well, since about wave 1, wave 2 of the TCG, you know, with sergeant so-and-so or private whatever, you know, General Optimus Prime, etc., General Megatron, you know, the top rankings of kind of stealing somewhat from the military, while the privates of the Decepticons are raiders. So I'm going to leave some of those that I started off with, and there's 5 rankings for each unit, and each unit can have different attributes, if I'm getting my terms correct here, like infantry, transport, espionage, etc. And so in some of these, again, we're going to still deal with the roll of a dice, possibly, but I may end up, this is going to be huge, guys. This is going to be huge. I think it's going to be a neat addition to the game. It may help make or help break. I don't know which. Probably not really break. But especially the ones that, you know, are going to be like a roll of the die to see if whatever. Then it's like, well, why do I want this card? Because I have stealthiness. Why do I need this? Because I have a flamethrower. Why do I need this? Because if I'm a casual game, I can play a fusion borer, etc., etc. There might be a reason, because a lot of these have hybrid pip colors, and you know my love for hybrid pip colors. I think it's a great addition to the actual game and gameplay and choice in how you flip and how they're played and how you can pull them out of your scrap, because it brings a lot of more options to your decks and your game play. So there's that. Because if you're able to pull a blue pip from your scrap because of some card that you have that you can play, or a character that says something, then if it's a hybrid, it's also an orange, it is also a green, or it's a blue and also a black. So, you know, you can pull that, whether it's, you know, maybe you're trying out my base cards, and Underground Transport is a favorite of mine that I like playing in some of my mock games. I got a lot of base cards printed right here, where if it gets scrapped, both players can draw out of their scrap, but it has to be a blue pip card. I think it has to be a blue pip upgrade, actually, it's technically. But so if you have a black-blue hybrid, it's a black, but it's also a blue. So because of that card, you can actually pull whatever that card is. I think it has to be an upgrade. But lots of neat, interesting possibilities of not exactly reworking the game. I'm not really changing anything. I'm not changing any rules. I don't want to really change rules. It's more of more options for your deck, more options of how you can get things working, how you can get certain cards back in your hand, etc., etc. And I think these ranking cards are, you may not want many. You might say, well, I have this and it has a certain pip colors, and maybe I don't need this orange pip flamethrower, or maybe I do and have it in conjunction with something else, etc., etc. So I think there opens up a lot of neat possibilities, as well as just some of the way that I've played it. A lot of the cards that I have even added to this game. It almost makes me wonder. I mean, 40 is a nice minimal number for a deck, but at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, I've got this and I want to do this and I want to try to get this pulled off, but if I only have 40 cards, this is really limiting me. And I'm beginning to start to wonder if maybe 45, maybe 50 is 60 too much, even though for most other card games, 50, 60 cards is like the minimal. And so when we were trying to keep things to a minimal of 40 for the Transformers TCG, I'm thinking, boy, that's a really high probability of getting the card you really want. Considering, and then it's also limiting what you can do with your deck, and having that ease of execution of getting certain cards with a higher probability, and ATP was good at that. They are good at that. Probability testing, probability, how many times is this going to be drawn? How many times I can get this in my hand? How many times can I get this played during my game? So there's, a high probability factor with only a minimal of 40 cards in your deck. But so I'm really wondering if you really want to not change the game, not changing any rules, like I said, giving yourself more opportunities to make the game a little more interesting. It might make the game a little longer because you're having to keep up with so much. And I've been noticing that in even my mock games, which is not always easy to do when you're playing both sides of the same game. And I appreciate the invitation, because I did get an invitation here online. It's just, it's hard for me to try to do that, and I don't even have a way. The thing that holds my phone, or used to hold my phone, it's not over here, it's over there at the table. It's just about to fall apart. I need something better. I will admit that. So, and to try to keep a game, an online, over the phone kind of game with being transparent and a sense of transparency, can be hard. It can be hard. I mean, I guess I could try to do it through my laptop, but then, there's a little bit of trust there also. And how you can do that. And I remember trying to see a few of how people would do things online with, like, the ATP group. And I would try to watch a few of their tournaments, and then I'm like, how are they getting this angle? How are they doing this? So again, that still eludes me a little bit, but intriguing and always fun to watch. And I wish people would play the game more and put their games online more, and not just for the sake of the silly cards I make, but just to see what else is out there, and really integrating everything as much as possible to see how much leg up on the competition you really can get in a casual game setting where almost anything goes. But that's just me, where, maybe after 3 games of defeating your opponent every time, and you're like, well, okay, this is boring, maybe I should change this up. But even though winning is good too, but then that makes it a challenge for the opponent to say, well, how can I get around that? How can I do this? How can, and sometimes every time, if you win, or you're winning all the time, there is no challenge. So I can understand the regulations that the guys have put on tournament play based on their tests and the probability factor of what cards can be used, what can't, and based on all their types of new action cards that they've made, plot actions, rolling actions, etc. And I've tried bringing a few new cards to the table as well, like the Secret Action Hybrids, which is still an action card, because it can be played as an action or a secret action. In the secret upgrades, which are interesting, and it's just to throw your opponent off, whether if it's ups, face down, when it's going to get, make them, just to make them sweat a little bit, not knowing what's going to be revealed, when it's going to be revealed, whether it's revealed on the attack, whether it's revealed on the defense, or they do something and it gets revealed if they draw an extra card or they attack you or with non-attack damage, and one of these secret upgrades is revealed. It's a nice little wrench in the works, so to speak, and it just feels right. Because I don't know if anybody's tried that before. We have secret actions, so why not secret upgrades? And it seemed like a neat way to do that. They're still an upgrade, but if they're face down, what's on the card is not active until after it has been revealed. And then you got the when revealed actions, that happens when it's done, and then there's always a little something permanent, even if it's not much, because there is a duality to the card. So I try not to make them too strong. But this video, what is about the ranking cards coming up, because even like I said a couple of months ago, I've gotten something in a bit over my head, but I think I'm seeing a light near the end of the tunnel. They're looking okay as far as the aesthetic of them all. I might want to do a new background or two. For the most part, I've been using the same Autobot background and the same Decepticon background over and over. But we'll see, because that does take a little bit of time. But in the line of characters that I've created, I made a card called based off I made an Outback based on a Subaru Outback. And I can't remember if that was, we got it. I did that card before we bought a Subaru Outback ourselves, because we just needed a new car. And so that's what I'm driving now for the most part, is this Outback. And I made an Outback character out of a current Outback. I tried to anyway. I tried to make his face look as obvious as Outback would look as I can. But I want to, I'm slowly redoing another one as a female Subaru Outback called Destiny, and I got to do her head, and I'm pretty much just doing the same. I hate to do this, but I'm doing a palette swap of Outback, who is a blue Outback, and this one's just going to be white, and I need to make her a new head and color it and put it in, and probably just going to flip my Outback image and take his head off and put her head on, and add a new character, because I haven't really been drawing much lately, or doing anything in that way, doing a whole lot of drawing lately. I found some old drawings of mine that I've been kind of sharing on Facebook, which I'm like, wow, when did I do this? Where'd this come from? More drawings, cool. And I might have shown one on here before, I can't remember, but I'm going 20 minutes, so let's just wrap this up. And the ranking cards, I think, will be fun. They're not going to be that much different to the game. I started with the whole roll a die for Pierce, for Bold, for Tough, or if it has Stealth or Brave or something, which is kind of lame. I will admit that. Kind of weak, or if you can maybe flip a character, or flip that character, or something to that effect with a die. But I'm phasing that out once I'm seeing how many cards, how this is creating, because so far I have one. I originally had one file with everything in there, and then I'm like, okay, well, I got to separate these. So I have an Autobot file, I've got a Decepticon file, been really working on the Decepticon rankings for the most part, which is, you know, Raider, Sergeant, Captain, Major, and General. And I've been going through the Ground Force and the Air Force. And for the Ground Force, I just took off the word force for this aesthetically, for the looks of it. And Marina, which is basically Sea Force. I've just changed it from Sea Force to Marina. It just it sounds better. Two, it's shorter and less text. Oh goodness. Ground, Air Force, Marina, and Space Force. I think that's it. I think that's the 4. There might be a 5th one, but it's just been a whole lot of cards. I got to start another Decepticon file, and once I get done with them, I'm going to start working on the Autobot rankings again. And it's been kind of going pretty quick. If I can get in here and get on these and work, boom, 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 I start going. And right now I'm just concentrating on getting the symbols, getting them on the cards, and getting them in the Magic Set Editor. And I'm thinking, and I've been doing this, and I'm thinking, well, this is interesting. Maybe I should do something with where you can maybe stack them as well, or where one of them knocks other rankings off another character to some extent. And we'll see, or maybe if there's a perk, if a certain ranking is on a character with that ranking in their title, or they're an infantry and it's an infantry on an infantry type character, which is in their function or subtitle along those lines, or infantry, medical, etc. So I'm thinking of some ways to be able to utilize these to help make the characters a little stronger, but not permanently stronger, as say like Earth Wars, because I'm also looking at Earth Wars concerning these symbols, because they're in there too. They've been in Earth Wars for, golly, 6-7 years. And I'm just now, you know, once we, you know, got, yeah, I say you know too much, a few free of like ranking skip things. I think I got 1/6 that weekend, about 2 of each, and maybe that was the plan all along. And so I was able to move up my rankings for like my 4 5-star Warpath, and my 5-star Warpath is great. Elita 1 is great. Now I'm talking about Earth Wars. And I'm thinking, oh, look, here's the symbol. What is it doing? Oh, and I'm changing the ranking, and I notice what it's doing now, because I've in these symbols, like you wouldn't, big plots of symbols, plots of land. Sorry. Oh, 'tis a silly place, but and I've already gone over, but I just wanted to talk about this because, one, it's exciting. Two, it's going to be a lot of cards, and I may end up having to re-reveal these, maybe, revitalize them, revisit them, and possibly re-update some of the old ones, but I don't want to do too much with changing things up, because I kind of like that idea of what I was going for, depending on the ranks, whether it, you know, adds attack or takes away defense and brings up attack, and then backwards. So, which is kind of interesting, and whether it's going to go into what slot, whether it's a weapon, armor, or utility. A lot of these are utilities, some aren't. So, and I got to go back through, now that I have some just a huge file of especially these Decepticon rankings done, I got to go back and say, okay, how do I want to do this? If you want to help and give me suggestions here below, go for it. Because I think it would have been interesting if they did have something like this in the back of their heads with this card game, with rankings in play before it did get canceled. I have no idea. But it just seems to go hand in hand with the game so well. So let's go do that voodoo that you do so well and throw scraplets at the like button. We'll see you next time. I got to get back to work. And as always, Autobots, flip out and let's roll for it.